Hello everyone, welcome to Zooming in China. I'm Simone Gao. The 90-day COVID origin report President Biden ordered came out last Friday. The unclassified summary of the report assesses that SARS-CoV-2 probably emerged and infected humans through an initial small-scale exposure that occurred no later than November 2019, with the first known cluster of COVID-19 cases arising in Wuhan, China in December 2019. In addition, the intelligence community was able to reach broad agreement on several other issues. The summary says the intelligence community judged the virus was not developed as a biological weapon. Most agencies also assess with low confidence that SARS-CoV-2 probably was not genetically engineered. However, two agencies believe there was not sufficient evidence to make an assessment either way. Finally, the IC assesses that China's officials did not have foreknowledge of the virus before the initial outbreak of COVID-19 emerged. Today, I invited a virologist and an intelligence community veteran to discuss the report with me. Shang Ling was the former lab director of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. Nick Eftimiades is a retired senior intelligence officer who specialized in China. He spent 34 years in CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency and has written extensively on China's espionage operations. Here's the discussion. Shang and Nick, thank you so much for joining Zooming in China today. So let's talk about the 90-day report on the COVID origin. First of all, I want to ask both of you, do you think the conclusion the report drew is reasonable? Nick, do you want to go first?
Sure. I don't really think sort of much of this report, and is that the whole thing isn't out yet, but the conclusions that draw are about the conclusions that we went in with. Which were we really can't determine if it was a result of a lab leak or a naturally occurring growth that happened. We can determine it wasn't a man-made, specifically man-made, as a bioweapon. It's not likely there's going to be any more information about it without the cooperation of the Chinese government.
Okay. All right, what about you, Sean?
So the summary of this investigation report make a couple of important statements. One of them is actually indicating there might be a small-scale outbreak no later than November 2019. And so I don't think any statement have made these, any investigation have made this statement formally before. And then secondly, they make a statement saying this virus was not developed as a biological weapon. And this is also very important because I think in the past they were highly suspicious that the virus may be a joint development product from Wuhan Institute of Virology and Chinese People's Liberation Army, or at least part of the biological weapon programs. The Chinese government may not be able to develop the exact virus, but maybe part of the process they create this virus. So this time, it was actually surprised that this intelligence committee report can make such a clear statement on this issue. And so I think this is the biggest surprise to me. Yeah.
Okay. I actually have a question, Sean, for you. The report says for intelligence communities elements and the National Intelligence Council assess with low confidence that the initial SARS-CoV-2 was not likely caused by natural exposure to an animal infected with it or a close progenitor virus, a virus that probably would be more than 99% similar to SARS-CoV-2. These analysts gave weight to China's officials' lack of knowledge, foreknowledge, the numerous vectors for natural exposure, and other factors. So my question is, what exactly do they base their low confidence conclusion on? Are they saying that because the Chinese authorities seemed not to know about the virus beforehand and there could be many animals that transfer the virus from bat to humans. So they concluded that this is likely the case. It has a natural origin, or they had something else they based our conclusion on, but they just didn't say it. Sean, what's your opinion?
So right now, it's just a brief summary, so I don't know the detail, but from their language, it just appears to me first, they didn't mention about any defectors information, because earlier this year, there were so many reports talk about a potential defector coming out of the Chinese PLA or Chinese high-ranking officials. And so what kind of information this defector might bring out, what kind of information that he brought out would be related to the virus, we don't know. And this report didn't mention any about that. And also, the report didn't mention about any new evidence that they gathered during the last 90 days. So we don't know. Even though the CNN report mentioned about there were a large database, about 20,000 different maybe virus samples information collected in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. But this summary report didn't mention that, and they didn't mention about any large-scale analysis of like satellite images in Wuhan for the November, December of 2019 in Wuhan, or even earlier. We don't know any of these investigation efforts being mentioned in these brief summaries. So we only know a very brief conclusion, and also indicating such a conflicting opinions inside the intelligence community. So it's very hard to judge how did they make a conclusion that the Chinese officials don't have any foreknowledge before the outbreak, because even the Chinese officers in the Chinese public health system did not know about the information. How do you know that the Chinese military bioweapon program officer didn't know about this information? How do you know Xi Jinping did not know about this information in advance? We don't know. I don't know if the American intelligence community is powerful enough to have a full knowledge about the Chinese bioweapon program. And actually, the Chinese government have been very aggressive in doing the military-civil fusion to advance dangerous pathogens researches. And they have been many reports, military officers writing books, guidelines, reports regarding the strategies, the development of the bioweapons, and how to improve China's biosafety, biosecurity issues, and how do they relate it to the bioweapon programs in China. So I think that part, even that part, needed to be thoroughly, seriously investigated, because it's directly related to the national security of the United States, even to the whole world. So I don't know if the American intelligence community can get such a clear picture in just 90 days investigation on this virus issue.
Okay, all right. Nick, what do you think? Do they base their conclusion on, China doesn't have foreknowledge of the virus, and there could be many animals that can, be the intermediate host? Do they base their conclusion on that, or do you think they have something else that they have that they just didn't tell us?
Let me set a little tone and dispel a couple of things. The defector I think you're referring to is Dong Jingwei, who is the head of counterintelligence for the Ministry of State Security. But he didn't defect. That was just rumors that were coming out. And, it's been largely discredited that he defected. So that didn't happen, number one. In a situation like this, I mean, personally, there's also been a lot of research that has been done, even out of Hong Kong, on bats and the types of viruses that they transmit. And this is so.
Nick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you just elaborate a little bit more? How do you know, definitively, that Dong Jingwei didn't defect?
Well, for a start, the Office of Director of National Intelligence took the unprecedented step of calling the reporter who initially started reporting the rumor, and told him, look, we don't have him. He did not defect. Now, if you're in the intelligence concerns, for them to do something like that is just, unheard of, literally hasn't been done before. And the reason that they would never do that is because if information ever came out otherwise, the U.S. government's been caught lying to the media, and that would be, that would wind up in congressional hearings.
Okay, what about, because I think that reporter, her name is Jennifer something, but she said, I think her source is not National Intelligence Agency. It's another source. It's the Defense Intelligence Agency. So could be, different agencies don't talk to each other. They don't know what each other hold.
No, impossible. So first off, that was I came out of, I think it's Spy Talk. It was gosh, I'll remember his name in a second, who first reported that. Number one. Number two, there's an interagency defector committee, and to say a defector would come out and held by one agency is just not possible. I mean, in the way we have the system, the way it is, right? It's not possible that someone defects to DIA, and which is an interesting tale on how that would happen in itself. But how this guy would get out of the country, defect to one agency that he found, and that they would not tell that to anyone else. It's just the system, everything from the software to the processes to, the entire system is just not geared for, the oversight that's conducted by multiple agencies, in this case in particular the CIA and the Director of National Intelligence over human intelligence, really doesn't allow for that to happen. I mean, it's just not possible. You couldn't even enter the guy's name in a, in a system, information systems without, all parties being informed. So,
I mean, are they absolutely required to enter the person's information into the system? What if they don't?
Then they go to jail.
Oh.
Period. I mean, you can't, and it's not that, someone defects to Nick. I mean, there are 40 people that that have to even just be informed just to affect that defection. I mean, am I going to give the guy immunity? I can't do that. That's State Department, and we're talking the White House, and lots of players have to be involved just for a person to defect. So it's not like, it's not even feasible that any agency could keep that defection from another. It just can't happen. I mean, physically can't happen.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, we have this incident is. We have a National Center for Medical Intelligence, right? Has an epidemiology section and a health section, divided into two. And it's a joint thing for the armed forces under DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. And they work issues of viruses and infections every day for the entire year. That's what they do. Largely because if, worldwide, if a U.S. force is going to deploy, they have to know the medical conditions in country and what the potential threats are from a medical perspective. So, I mean, we have an entire center dedicated with hundreds of people dedicated towards working this issue. So now an issue comes up, this virus comes up that is potentially the greatest threat that we've seen in 100 years to humanity. Millions die as a result. And I mean, it's going to be the most scrutinized, collected on activity, for decades. So even that 90 days, look, when this first started, and even I heard about it in early December, early December 19. So it just, and I'm way on the outside.
You heard about it in early December 2019. You heard about this virus?
Yeah.
I mean, where did you hear it?
Sorry. 2020. I'm losing my days. I'm losing my years.
20. I mean, everybody knows about the virus by 2020.
Well, actually, no. I'm sorry. I'm losing my years straight. It forcefully hit us in January 2021, right?
2020.
2020. So the month before, early December, personally, I heard about it. That's what was leaking out.
Okay.
So, and if I hear about it and I'm on the far fringes of actual intelligence, the community is aggressively looking at this. So when something like this happens, you task your collection assets, right? You task your imagery, you task your signals intelligence, you task your cyber action, you task any of your human assets. So all that happens over the course of the months that we've been looking at that problem. And President Trump made it a priority issue. The intelligence community was already working it as a priority issue. So now that we have just terabytes worth of data on this, and have been collecting and analyzing it and producing reports about it and bringing in scientists about it all through this entire time to try and determine the actual cause. Now another president says we're going to have a 90-day look. What does that accomplish? I mean, we've already looked at this probably more extensively than any other event in recent times. So, you're not going to develop new signals intelligence. Your human assets, you're not going to develop new human assets. I mean, those take months to years to develop. So unless you get a defector that walks through the door, and even then you have to corroborate the information, right? Because everybody wants to come with a story, to come to the US. So even then you have to corroborate the information. So unless you get very, very lucky in that you're not working with new information, maybe you go back over and retranslate information or stuff like that, but you basically have already been working this problem for months and months and months. So not like we're going to learn anything new here. And I think the results just proved that. Going in, there was not much of an argument to say that this was a biomanufactured weapon. I think everyone knew from the start, pretty publicly as well, that either some mess up at the lab which leaked it, which is very, very possible. We do know about the conditions at the lab, and that is possible. Or it was something that occurred naturally. No new information as far as I can see.
Okay, this question is for Sean. I'm sorry about drilling in this direction, but I just never get a satisfying answer from the news report and stuff like that. So, as far as I understand, in order to determine this virus came from nature, has a natural origin, you need to have a intermediate host. So without the intermediate host, you just simply cannot decide that. As far as I know, the intelligence community everywhere in the world has not found the intermediate host to this virus. And then how come the intelligence community can jump into the conclusion, although with low confidence, that this came from nature? Are they really just based on their conclusion on the things I said before, because China doesn't have, it seems like they didn't have foreknowledge of this virus, and also there could be many animals could be the intermediate host? Is that what they based on conclusion on?
Well, I don't think the intelligence community will make decisions solely on that aspect. But in terms of the intermediate animal host, Chinese government definitely mentioned in their collaboration with WHO's investigation early this year, they mentioned they surveyed more than 80,000 animal samples, not just in Wuhan, not just in Hubei province, actually nationwide, and they didn't find any sample that was positive in the serology test for SARS-CoV-2. And that actually was really a mysterious aspect, because if you look at the history of SARS outbreak and MERS outbreak, usually if you have an animal infection prior to a human outbreak, usually you will see certain levels of serum positivities in the sample collected in the community. At least in the SARS and MERS situation, at least you can find about 1 to 4% of the animals samples is positive for SARS or MERS. And this time it's like totally zero for more than 80,000 samples. So this is unbelievable. And so, I think this is one of the biggest reasons that many people question what's going on in China, because you couldn't identify any intermediate animal host, and even the bat coronavirus, even the RATG13 bat coronavirus that's identified by the Shizhenli's group in Wuhan Institute of Virology, their virus is only 96.2% homologies to the SARS-CoV-2. So that virus is not exactly the progenitor virus that the scientific community will look for. And at least some virus samples should be above 99% homology can be qualified as a progenitor virus. So basically, we don't have progenitor virus. We don't have animal sample. We don't know exactly who will be the patient zero. And probably Chinese government know who will be the patient zero, but they didn't reveal. And so anyway, so missing all this important information, of course, the animal origin of the outbreak is still a biggest question. And I also want to emphasize that I don't expect an intelligence community can make a solid conclusion on the virus origin. And I think the intelligence community's focus is the origin of the outbreak and also whether the Chinese government have intentional cover-up after the outbreak. I think these elements actually is more important than answering scientific question where the virus come from, right? Because the intelligence community, they are not scientists, even though they can consult with many scientists. But I think their role is to figure out whether the Chinese government have intentionally spread the virus out or intentionally cover up the virus outbreak information. How did they lie to our international community regarding about the human-to-human transmission, right? So I think this information is more important, and also very important to know whether in Wuhan there was earlier outbreak earlier than November, and how did the outbreak started, even though it may be a small cluster outbreak in a local community, but how did it happen? These are all important information, and also another element important will be the lab safety situations. Besides the WIV, how about Wuhan CDCs and other labs in that area? Any other lab has potential biosafety issues. So these kind of picture, I think the intelligence community can present better than the scientific community as well. And actually really look forward to any analysis result from the satellite image analysis. But this right now, the full report hasn't come out, so I don't know what will be included here.
Okay, Nick. So yeah.
Actually, can I make a comment on that? Just to dispel an incorrect notion. That entire National Center for Medical Intelligence are all scientists. So they are all scientists. They're all epidemiologists. You can't swing a stick without hitting a PhD in that place. So, and as you point out, though, not only are they scientists, but as you point out, they have outreach into the entire armed forces medical community, as well as, the civilian community within the U.S. government. So I think you're going to get the best of our science is working on it, not just the intelligence picture of what happened. Okay, that's one part, the intelligence, side of that. The other side of it is the actual virus itself and what are the tenets of it. So two groups, both under the intelligence community, both working this problem jointly.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I want to also add it to it. I actually interact with scientists at the National Medical Intelligence Community for District. I interact with them during H7N9 outbreak in China as well. And so I understand there are definitely scientists in there. I would just mention overall about the whole intelligence community, right? They mentioned about so many different intelligence community elements. They have different arguments on different potential. So I just wondering why actually the whole effort was not put under a special like a commission or more focus on, and so that you can eventually have a better overall estimate of the whole situation instead of so many different intelligence community doing their own assessment. And how will the final result come out when you have so many different government agencies involved? I just wasn't sure about the whole process and how was it done in this way. So I just wasn't clear to me.
Okay, so it seems like different agencies are just doing their own work. I mean, the report even indicates that.
Let me tell you how this is done. So under the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, there is the National Intelligence Council. And they are the highest body in the intelligence community for analysis. So typically, they do major projects, which often take months and months, up to a year to do, and they bring the entire intelligence community into it. They are the lead, and the members that comprise the committees and the working groups that support that come from the intelligence community, various agencies. So, in fact, all agencies. So what happens is that you have the DNI leading this. Now, DIA or State Department or CIA might look at a report and evaluate it differently. DIA says, you know what, we know this reporting source, it has been reliable forever. I'm just giving you an example. And CIA says, okay, but that doesn't exactly go with some of the source reporting that we have on this issue. And all that stuff is done across the table. They sit down and look about it, and they have to allow a process for dissenting opinions, right? So because you're not just going to, okay, we all vote it's the truth. That group, that over months, that group will say, this is what our assessment is. This is how we rate it, high, medium, low type of thing. And by the way, there is a dissenting opinion here by agency 1, 2, 3. They don't believe that, and this is why. So what you're seeing that will come out is that people add more weight to some sources and others, and as a result, you can get, and typically not much, but you can get dissenting opinions that come out of the report. And it's just a matter of how they view the evidence.
Okay. Another question is, before this 90-day report on COVID origin, the Republican side, the House Congressional Foreign Intelligence Community, they came out with their own report. And I think the Republican study group also came out their own report. And I think the Republican side has pretty much reached a consensus that based on the intelligence community's report and investigation, that the evidence heavily lean towards this is related to the lab. It's a lab leaked incident. But from this 90-day report, it doesn't give that impression at all. How do you explain it, Nick?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually got to see the full report to understand how they have, how they've done those calculations. There's something that factors in. The fact that the Chinese government has been completely unhelpful, denied, even throwing this back at it occurred anywhere but China, basically, has not helped, the perceptions and the analysis. So how much does that influence people who are doing the analysis? Here's an issue of weighting the evidence. The fact that China, won't give up any information towards this, has refused investigations, and is actually accusing the United States of leaking this virus. How does that impact people who are doing analysis, whether they be from Republicans or from the intelligence community? So, just things like that are huge weighting factors. I would tell you in experience, the congressional community would weigh that a lot heavier than the intelligence community, because that's just standard CCP behavior as far as they're concerned, and they would put it aside. I don't know if the political dimension could be put aside when it comes out of the Congress. So just issues like that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this. Do you think the intelligence community, do you think the different intelligence agencies are politicized?
No, everyone is to some degree. Yeah, I think people are politicized. I don't think agencies are politicized. But I can go back to the Clinton administration, and every administration I served under in the intelligence community, we saw leaks that were occurring whenever the intelligence community didn't agree with a political decision. So is that politicization? Sure it is. They're trying, what Trump spoke of that, was shadow government or so. There's a lot of truth to it. The intelligence community or people in that community take action when they don't believe the policy apparatus is right or honest.
Okay. So do you think there could be a lot of that going on for the COVID origin research and investigation?
I think there are so many people involved with this If that happens, see, and that's, the valve in the system. There are so many people that are involved with this. If it was politicized, if someone changed the wording on the report, on the final report, to reflect something different, you'll hear about it in weeks. People will start leaking information that says that's not what the report actually said, those types of things. So, when you politicize and when you change things to suit a political narrative, it's pretty hard to do it when you have dozens or hundreds of people involved in doing the research and analysis.
But what about the report itself? Could the report itself, the conclusion they drew, is politicized, it's influenced by political opinions?
So like I said, if that is influenced where, it won't be influenced at the table, right? At the table where these people are working and they're saying, there's this and that. As it goes up through the, approval chain, as I said, if people start changing wording to, to support a political process, or a political opinion, that tends to be a huge flag. It happens. I've seen it happen. But when it does, there are always reverberations inside the intelligence community, and there's always discussion and emails floating about if this was changed, how could it have been changed? I've had my work changed by generals, and it's it wound up with organizations splitting work and saying we're no longer working with you for that particular reason. Those types of things. So there are repercussions for those types of actions, and so far it hasn't come out, so we haven't seen anything yet.
Okay. Sean, I have a question for you. Because the report says because the Chinese government is not cooperating and we could not obtain the original either data or intelligence information about this virus, so they resort to a scientific approach. Obviously, the researchers, the real scientists are happy about that, but the intelligence community is also happy about that. Do you think that's a right approach? What will happen to a scientific approach?
Well, I'm not sure what the scientific community is happy about exactly, because even the WHO's investigation team did not get any samples, real clinical samples or animal samples from China, and the whole virus origin, even the outbreak origin, these two issues are all still mysterious to the whole world. So what to be happy about, I don't know what CNN report can refer to in here. And regarding about the intelligence report this time,
it's not happy. It just I think the wording is they agree, and this is a better approach.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, of course, even before the intelligence community report coming out, we know very clear the Chinese government did not collaborate with any foreign scientists, investigators who want to go to China to understand how the outbreak started in Wuhan, right? They haven't been collaborating from the beginning, even after the pressure from the Australian government from more than 100 countries during the last World Health Assembly in 2020. The Chinese government has made their solid mind. They did not want to collaborate. They defined the study, the scope of the study, right? And they decide what kind of sample to be collected, to be studied. And so right now, before the American intelligence community start their investigation, start their report, I think it's very, very clear they won't get any additional samples from China. So I don't think the report don't even have to mention that. Of course, ideally you can get the Chinese government collaboration, but in the reality, there's no way they will collaborate with you. And so that's why I said for the intelligence community report, they should mention other aspects. Under this kind of situation, without Chinese government collaboration, what kind of information has been collected? What kind of analysis has been done? Of course, I look forward to reading the whole report. I'm really interested in see what kind of evidence did they get, that how much knowledge did they have in terms of the Chinese government's bioweapon programs, how do they make a conclusion this virus was not bioweapon program? I don't believe the Chinese scientists have the intelligence or have the knowledge or the skill to develop a perfect virus like SARS-CoV-2. But I'm still very interested in how the intelligence community can make a conclusion in this way, and so what kind of additional evidence they got. I'm really curious on that one.
So,
Yes,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Two questions. Number one, do you think those type of information will be included in the report? And second, does the scientific research, does the scientific approach means decades of research into the origin of the virus, which means, for a long period of time, we won't be able to know the origin of the virus? Is that what we're seeing?
I think to understand the virus origin, of course, is a daunting scientific task. And, for decades, we still don't know how HIV started. We don't know how the SARS outbreak started in 2003, right? So it's always a daunting scientific task. And that's what Chinese government be happy to push the whole investigation towards this direction. And so that's why they even mentioned that you need to collect samples in South Asia countries to get more samples, more bat samples, maybe more pangolin samples in different countries. Of course, they want the whole international society spend more time on these scientific questions. But I think what's really mattered to the whole world right now is how the outbreak started. Whether there was a big issue regarding about lab safeties, and also does any lab in China or even in other South Asia country pose a great danger to the whole world when these labs been collecting dangerous pathogens? So I think the whole world doesn't want to have another incident of the COVID, right? So nobody wanted to repeat it. So that's why the intelligence efforts is so critical to understand how did the outbreak started, what kind of information the Chinese government covered up, and then the U.S. intelligence has an insight, a better insight, a real insight, right? So I think that's really critical to the whole world. I don't care whether the virus comes from pangolin or bat or even camels or other animals or civets, right? That part actually does not really matter to the human society at this stage. We still are battling with the COVID. So it's key to understand whether there will be other outbreak potentials and what did the Chinese government cover up at the beginning stage. So I think that's more important.
Do you think those information about how is this not related to China's biological weapons will be included in the report that the public can see?
I definitely hope so. I don't know if the intelligence community, so many different elements of the intelligence community have done thorough investigation or analysis on China's bioweapon programs, which has been very aggressively driven forward under Xi Jinping's regime. So I don't know how updated the intelligence communities have on this aspect. So I definitely look forward to read some elements regarding about China's bioweapon program. Since they make such a conclusion in this summary, I believe they will have some information there. I just will really be interesting to see how in-depth they know about the situation.
Okay. Nick, you have the last words. Do you think this origin of the virus probe will yield any result in the near future?
No, I don't. With all the capabilities of U.S. intelligence and our allies, I should add, right? Because we have sharing arrangements all over the world with intelligence services. So collectively, if the intelligence services of the world haven't been able to answer that question yet, I wouldn't wait around for it. And I take your point. I think it's going to be like an AIDS, corollary to the AIDS story, where we really don't know how it started. I mean, there'll be a lot of speculation, but I don't think we're ever going to get to answers. The intelligence community is not going to reveal its sources. So to temper expectations, they're not going to say we learned this from human sources or we learned this from reading Xi Jinping's emails or anything like that. If at all this time we haven't gotten a clear answer, I wouldn't expect one from this 90-day study or any time in the near future. I think we have to prepare and go forward with what we know and our expectations of the CCP's behavior not being any different in a future outbreak. And from a policy perspective, which intelligence supports policy making, I think that's the way we're going to move forward from now on.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Nick and Sean. Thank you for joining Zooming in China today.
Thank you, Simone. Glad to join you.
Thank you. Same here. Very glad to join you.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching Zooming in China. Please like, share, subscribe, and donate to this production if you like our content. Also, head over to my new membership site at zoomingin.tv. You can get video audio format of my show and full transcript. I'll also do live Q&A on the membership website, and we have member-exclusive documentary movies on the site as well. So please take a look. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.